Heaven, so iPhone 14 Pro Max up against the iPhone 17 Pro Max in this camera comparison. And for those of you still with your iPhone 14 Pro Max, you're probably wondering, can my 3-year-old iPhone really compete with the latest and greatest from Apple, given that Apple's pretty much upgraded every sensor except the main sensor. You've got 12 megapixels in both the telephoto and ultra wide in the 14 Pro Max, with the new 48 megapixel sensors in the 17 Pro Max. And of course, the 17 Pro Max also has that upgraded selfie camera that can shoot both portrait and landscape without rotating the phone. And so honestly, I will say, unless you really need longer range zoom, if you're really going to use log video footage and format to be able to color grade and color correct your videos using post-processing software, or really want that selfie camera, although you don't really need to go to the Pro Max this year for that upgraded selfie camera since they are in every 17 model itself, I would say no, stick with your iPhone 14 Pro Max. I think you're going to be really happy with it. But if you do need those things, then the 17 Pro Max might really be a nice upgrade for you. But you don't have to take my word for it, because like I always do, I'm going to show you a bunch of photos in both good and low light conditions so you can decide for yourself which of these two camera systems are going to be best for your smartphone camera needs. So go ahead and take a look at all the photos and videos and let me know what you think. Everyone, here's a video test of the rear cameras of the iPhone 17 Pro Max and 14 Pro Max. This is the ultra-wide-angle camera to start out on each at 4K 60 frames per second. So it's been overcast, but the sun's kind of come out, so you can see what this looks like here with the ultra-wide-angle camera side by side as I pan around. And for some reason on the 14 Pro Max, when you go to 4K 60 frames per second recording, you can't switch between the lenses once you start recording from ultra wide. So I can't go into the main lens right now on the 14 Pro Max. I can do that at any other resolution and frame rate. So at 4K 30, 1080p 60, 1080p 30, I can do that. But at 4K 60 on the 14 Pro Max, I cannot. So the most I can do is move into 3X here, and I'm pretty sure that's not switching the lenses. And you can tell because if I pop into the 1X, there's no change. You can't tell. So I'm pretty sure this is limited to the ultra wide, goes to max this 3X zoom, and that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back, stop the video, come back with the main lenses on both. So we're back with the main cameras on each. And again, at 4K 60, I can't switch between the lenses once I start recording with the ultra wide on the 14 Pro Max, but I can do that on the 17 Pro Max. And again, 14 Pro Max can do that at pretty much any other resolution and frame rate. So if that's a setting issue, let me know, but I couldn't find anything related to that. And so again, these are the main cameras right now, so I'm just going to pan around so you can see side by side what this looks like. And it's nice that it's been cloudy, but the sun's come out, so you can see the blues, you can see the fall leaves turning in the background there, along with the normal greens and everything else here. So pretty nice colors and conditions to test in. And we can move over here to the right to the cell tower, and we can test the zoom out here. So 4X telephoto here on the 17 Pro Max, 3X telephoto on the 14 Pro Max. And then this is where the 14 Pro Max is more limited, so we can go all the way up to, well, let's go to more of a 9X zoom here on the 17 Pro Max, because that is the max zoom you're going to get here. On the 14 Pro Max, actually 6X at 60 frames per second. You can go to 9X on any lower frame rate on the 14 Pro Max. You can go all the way up to a 24X there on the 17 Pro Max. So that's where the 14 Pro Max is going to be limited. It's going to be in long range zoom, both in video and in photos. So if that's important to you, that could be something that could be something why you might want to upgrade to the 17. But back out to 1X here on both, and we'll test autofocus on the post with the 17 Pro Max first, and away. So as expected, pretty quick and snappy autofocus, good natural bokeh background blur there, and same thing with the 14 Pro Max here. Also quick and snappy, and pretty much likewise with the bokeh there. And let's go ahead and just walk down the stairs so we can test the stabilization. You can see what that looks like here side by side, coming through the pathway here. And I'll just jog to try to stress out that stabilization. So there you go, a quick video test from the rear cameras of the iPhone 17 Pro Max up against the 14 Pro Max. Let me know what you think. So we're back in the same spot, this time at 4K 30 ProRes on each. There's 4K 30 ProRes SDR footage on the 14 Pro Max, and the 17 Pro Max supports 4K 30 ProRes log format. So there's log file format here on the 17 Pro Max, so that's color corrected that you're seeing. No log file for support on the 14 Pro Max, and this is the ultra-wide-angle cameras. I'll pop into the main camera here on each. There we go, so that's the main camera on both. So I'm just gonna pan around so you get a side-by-side view of this. And you can compare this to what you just saw in the fully auto footage that just came out of the cameras versus this ProRes and the log footage that's been color corrected on the 17 Pro Max. And just for completeness, I'll just go ahead and walk down the pathway here so you can get a sense for what everything looks like here as everything shifts around, maybe with the colors and exposure as I move around. So let me know what you think about the footage here at ProRes from both these phones and the log footage on the 17 Pro Max compared to the fully auto, straight out of the camera footage that you just saw in this same scene. So we're back with the rear cameras, this time with cinematic mode on the 17 Pro Max and 14 Pro Max. This is at 4K 30 frames per second, so you're going to see this artificial background blur with cinematic mode. And so it's fully adjustable to be as much or less blur as you want. And so I'm in some shade and some pretty controlled lighting, so you can see how these cameras perform and how this effect looks in some pretty optimal lighting because of that, pretty even lighting. And so I'll just go ahead and move over here and walk over to the sun so I can shine more directly on my face and into me, so you can kind of see what that looks like and how the overall quality and effect looks with more direct sunlight here. And I'll just move back this way and I'll just pan around so you can kind of see how this effect holds up into some of the changing light. So that's where we started. And I'll just slowly pan around and you can see what this looks like as the lighting changes and how the exposure looks, the colors, and how the effect holds up. And we'll just go ahead and start walking so I can see how this effect holds up with some movement. So let me know what you think about the cinematic mode here on the rear cameras of the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the 14 Pro Max. Alright, so here's a test of the front-facing cameras of the iPhone 17 Pro Max up against the 14 Pro Max. This is being shot at 4K 60 frames per second. And so obviously I'm outdoors. It's been kind of cloudy, but the sun's kind of come out, so we're gonna get a little bit more sunshine. But right now it's even light. Just want to show you what these cameras can do with some pretty controlled lighting here. You can see at least in the viewfinder, the 14 Pro Max is blowing out a little bit more of that background skyline that you can see right there. And it's not even really bright sun. But I'll walk over this way so we can get more into the direct sun right here, and you kind of see what that does with the sun shining more directly on my face right now and how that might affect the overall picture quality. And now you can see the overall exposure and everything in the background has been cleared up a little bit more. And so I'll just move back this way and I'll just kind of move around and pan so you can kind of see the lighting and how that affects the overall image quality and exposure here. You can see right now, again, skyline seems to be a little bit more blown out on the 14 Pro Max, although the 17 Pro Max is doing it as well. And the sun is coming more from that direction in front of me. So I just slowly pan around so you can kind of see what this looks like here as the lighting conditions change just a little bit. And you can see right there more of the fall colors as well behind me. Looks pretty nice. And we'll pan all the way back around and we'll just walk so we can test the stabilization, and you can see what that looks like here side by side. So let me know what you think about the front-facing camera quality here on the 17 Pro Max up against the 14 Pro Max. Yeah, so we're back with the front-facing cameras, this time at cinematic mode on the 17 Pro Max and 14 Pro Max. So you should be seeing this artificial background blur, and they're both set to an aperture of f/4.0, so you can adjust that so you can make it more or less blurry as you want. And so I'm in the same scene right now, and you can kind of see the difference in the camera quality. In the viewfinder, it's looking a little bit different. I'm actually kind of liking the 17 Pro Max a little bit more, but let me know what you think here. And I'll go ahead and move over this way back so we have more sun shining directly on me again. So you can see what that does to kind of the overall effect and the picture quality with kind of more direct sunlight. And I'll move back this way and I'll do the same thing. I'll just pan around so you can kind of quickly see kind of what this looks like into some of the changing lighting conditions. So this is where we started, and I'll just slowly pan around so you can see what it looks like as the lighting changes a bit. The sun is kind of coming more off the right now, but I'm still in the shade, so that might not do a whole lot. But I'll also walk so we can see how this effect holds up with some movement. So let me know what you think about the cinematic mode for video here on the front-facing cameras of the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the 14 Pro Max. So here's a low light video test of the iPhone 17 Pro Max and 14 Pro Max. This is the ultra wide angle cameras to start out on each at 4K 60 frames per second. So I'm just going to pan around here to give you a side-by-side view of these ultra wide angle cameras in this particular setting here at night. And what's interesting is the 17 Pro Max can switch between the lenses here at 4K 60. The 14 Pro Max doesn't seem to be able to. This is the ultra wide angle camera, and even if I think I zoom in, you're not going to see a lens switch. So if I move into 1x here, 14 Pro Max, nothing. And 17 Pro Max, you're going to see everything start to kind of brighten up because it's now on the main lens, which is wider, larger sensor lets in more light, but the 14 Pro Max looks the same. And even if we zoomed in, it's only going to go to a max 3x. So I think it's still using the ultra wide angle camera regardless at 4K 60. And at 4K 30, you can switch between the cameras while recording. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here, and then I'm going to come back with the main cameras. All right, so we're back with the main cameras again at 4K 60 frames per second. And if I pan up into the tree line, everything should brighten up on both cameras. There you go. So 14 Pro Max now on the main camera. You can tell in comparison to the previous footage, it's much brighter, much more defined in that tree line because of the main sensor is wider, lets in more light. So I don't know why the 14 Pro Max won't let you switch between lenses at 4K 60 frames per second, because at 30 frames you can. It could just be a setting that I'm omitting, but I'll be honest and say I'm too lazy to dig through the settings right now. So drop a comment if you know. But we'll go ahead and test the telephoto lenses. So we'll go 4x telephoto here on the 17 Pro Max, 3x telephoto on the 14 Pro Max, and max zoom here, 17 Pro Max, 24x. And we'll go max zoom here on the 14 Pro Max, which is 6x only. So not much of a zoom on the 14 Pro Max if that's important to you. And we'll just pan around this way and we'll just walk so we can test the stabilization and show you what that looks like side by side, as well as show you how these cameras perform in a little bit of a lower light situation, so a lot less light as you travel along this pathway. So you can see kind of how it handles the light transition from the really bright street lights back to this darker area, especially as we turn the corner here. It's gonna be much darker. All we're gonna have are these pathway lights, and that's pretty much it. And both these phones are definitely illuminating the scene a lot more than it really is, trying to really brighten things up. And it is a overcast, cloudy night, so the skies are a bit gray, but not nearly this bright, especially down this stretch here. If I pan up into the sky, again, it is a bit overcast, but you're probably gonna see a bunch of noise there, right there. Really trying to bump up the brightness. And we'll pan back this way and down. So let me know what you think about 4K 60 here at night. All right, so we're back in the same spot, still at 4K 60 frames per second, but I turned down the exposure on both, so it's a little closer to what I'm seeing with my own eyes, much darker as you can tell. So if you want night to look more like night, you can simply just stick with the default camera app and just turn down your exposure without having to go to a third-party app or anything if you just want to keep it simple. And there's the night sky again. You can see a lot less noise right now. All right, so let me know what you think about this footage. Do you prefer night to look like night and like this kind of footage, or do you prefer things to the camera to automatically really brighten things up just so that you can see things more? It's gonna come down to a personal preference, but if you want to do that, that's how you can do that with these cameras, real nice and easy. So here's a low light video test of the front facing cameras of the iPhone 17 Pro Max and 14 Pro Max. This is gonna be shot at 4K 60 frames per second, which is the max resolution and frame rate on each. Again, if you wanted things to brighten up a little bit more by default, you can always shoot at 30 frames per second. It won't look as dark as it does right now, but We'll move over here so you can see what this looks like with the really bright street light behind me shining directly into those cameras. And off the bat, you'll notice the 14 Pro Max is blowing that light out a lot more than the 17 Pro Max. But we'll go ahead and just walk so we can show you the stabilization here side by side as you walk from that area over there over to this little bit darker area with maybe a little bit less light down this stretch here. And we'll move around here and just pull up and pan all the way around so you can see what the picture quality looks like with a bunch of those really bright street lights shining into those cameras. And again, the 14 Pro Max definitely blowing that out a lot more than the 17 Pro Max. And I show you that just because if you're out and about and you want to use these front-facing cameras for some video, you're probably going to do so with some bright lights at night, and that's what you might expect or see when you use the cameras like that. So I'm just over here so you can see side by side what this looks like in this little bit of a darker area, so you can see what the picture quality looks like with a little bit less light on these front-facing cameras. But let me know what you thought about the overall camera comparison here between the iPhone 17 Pro Max and 14 Pro Max. And if you've already upgraded, what do you think about the camera experience and if you think it was worth it or not? And if you're still thinking about upgrading, let me know if you still plan to do so and why, and maybe hopefully this video helped you out a little bit. So as always, guys, drop your questions in the comments down below. I'll try to answer what I can. And as always, thanks for watching.